True crime. From cold cases to serial killers, missing persons, and more.
100% he did this.
I'd go off in the fantasy world.
How much more lucky can you get that you're not on death row?
You want to know what we know.
My name is Jay. This is Guilty of Crime.
Hello, everybody. We're back. Thank you for being here. I have new members. Awesome. Everybody that's a new member, I appreciate you so very much. Now, you know I don't cover the Delphi case like ever. I'm going to thank the members that are new as we roll in here, but I do want to do a deception detective style video about Richard Allen, and I want to give you my opinion on the case. Now, I've done it before on other channels, but it's the wild, wild west at this point. So I'm going to tell you what I know, and I'm going to tell you what the prosecution has against Richard Allen. Thank you, James Goldsmith, for becoming a member. Sharon Belko, thank you. Nicole and Mandy. Hello, Melissa. All right, Monica. I have lots of Melissas in here. It's amazing. All right, so a lot of people were on the live stream before this, and I hope to have some folks back for this. Now, a lot of people know about Delphi, and if you know about it, you know about it. If you don't, then it's kind of all convoluted. So first I will show you let me show you the article on what happened today. There was a court hearing, and let's get this out of the way. I love how they do these ads here so you can't see anything. Anyway, Richard Allen's trial in Delphi murders case pushed back to October. The defense withdraws request for a speedy trial. Why would that be? I don't know. We'll keep talking about it as people roll in. Hello, Trish. I love being here during the week because I get new people that I haven't seen before. Trish Crow, hello. Melissa, oh, as always, Bougie Cougar, hello. How's my favorite eyebrows? I hope they look the same as they did earlier. Now I just need a haircut. Huge love from the United States to the UK. You guys are so friendly in the UK, and there's so much less crime with guns and just everything. Man, I love America, but I'd love to visit the UK. All right. Now, what do you mean what's this about? It's Delphi. It's Richard Allen having guilty knowledge. That's interesting that maybe I didn't make it apparent because I don't cover Delphi. I used to live in Monticello, Indiana, not far from where this happened. All right. This is about, and it's only about the murders of Abby Williams and Libby Germany of Delphi, Indiana. So in the banner, I am going to put that. I probably should have put that. However, I am doing a Richard Allen collaboration with Deception Detective and talking about his guilty knowledge and what I believe about the case. And then breaking news came in today. The trial date for Delphi that was finally going to come next week has changed to October 14th. I believe Richard Allen not only has guilty knowledge, but he is guilty, and the prosecution has the right person behind bars. So I'm going to put here justice for Abby and Libby. Again, I don't normally cover this case, and I will put Delphi case. But I couldn't have said this better than Deception Detective, and I have a video that I filmed before showing you some evidence. So I have this up here, this weird ad that's not going away. I'm going to pull this down in a second. I just want to read this to you. So today there was a hearing and the trial has been delayed. Today's Tuesday in an Allen County courtroom. Special Judge Fran Gull, if you don't know the case, she's the judge, wishes of the defense to vacate a May 13th trial date. Attorneys Andrew Baldwin and Bradley Rosie had previously requested a speedy trial. So the Delphi murder case for Abby and Libby, which we want justice for, was supposed to happen next week. There was a speedy trial requested, and now it has been removed. So the proceedings are going to be moved. It's going to be pushed back to October. Can you see that here? Okay. There's Abby and Libby on the screen, folks. So hopefully we get some people in here that know what I'm talking about. I guess if you don't know who Richard Allen is or the Delphi case, that's interesting. Michelle, I'm glad you found my channel. And when I do a 1:30, I do it because I want new people in here. I have time. I'm home today as they do construction. I needed to make sure everything was good. And I wanted to cover something that wasn't so, it was a lot more mellow collaboration. I could do this on a pre-record. And a lot of times when I do pre-records, they get more attention. But I love doing this with you. Michelle, Deb. Thank you, Deb. I'm glad you're following this case. I'm glad somebody in my community is following this case. It is a pretty horrific case. And I'm going to scroll down to Abby and Libby right now. And I have stuff to play for you. I have things going on. So the case was going to happen next week. The new trial dates are October 14th through November 15th. So only 4 weeks. In Carroll County, Gull said this morning, Allen's defense attorneys claim they have not had enough time to prepare for the case, and the court has not been granted the defense enough time to present their case. There are the beautiful girls that we need justice for, Abby and Libby. That's the easiest way to say it. Justice for Abby and Libby, okay? So that's what I need you to understand, is that we need justice for Abby and Libby. Justice for Abby and Libby in the Delphi case. Now, they have Richard Allen, who's the suspect. It took them, I believe, 7 years. Again, I don't follow this case as like my religion, but I'm going to read this to you and tell you, I'm going to read the case to you and then tell you why I think that he's absolutely guilty and that they're going to find him guilty when trial happens, and why I think he's guilty and what the prosecution has. And then we're going to get in. Thank you, Deb. 7 years. And now I've been on other channels. I've been on another channel doing this case, and it is the Wild Wild West. The channel that I've been on, you can see in my videos. I believe he's correct in everything he says because he studies this case religiously. And good for him to study it religiously and know the ins and outs of it. Okay? So, let's get into it. The case has been delayed. It was going to be next week. It's no longer. Let's get justice for Abby and Libby. Okay, we're talking about Delphi, Richard Allen. Let's finish this up, reading this part, and then I'm going to show you a video I made and tell you why I think he's guilty. Okay, here's the facts of the case, folks. Okay, Richard Allen faces 4 counts of murder in the February 2017 deaths of Abby Williams and Libby German. Near the Monon High Bridge, Indiana State Police announced his arrest October 2022. They happened in 2017, and he didn't get arrested until 2022, leading to much legal maneuvering between the prosecution and defense. If you want, go look at the Delphi case. It's the Wild Wild West. So many things that I'm not going to get into today. I'm just going to let that be for the other channels that want to do that. Okay. Another call for Gull to recuse herself. It says rescue herself. The defense also filed another motion to have Gull disqualify herself from the case. During the contentious hearing this morning, Gull told Rosie that she couldn't understand why Allen's team couldn't defend their client during the time allotted. Rosie argued that you don't know anything about this case. I can't believe he talked to a judge like that, citing a lack of pretrial hearings to debate potential evidence. The defense previously asked that the Indiana Supreme Court to remove Gull, which the state's highest court declined to do. Yes, 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 yes. Now you know how I feel about that. I think Judge Gull needs to stay on this case. I'm glad they didn't recuse her and let it happen. A lot of people are going to disagree with me about a lot of things today, and I'm okay with that. You can still be on my channel if you don't agree with me. Gull refused to recuse herself. There's a typo, guys. You guys put rescue herself. It's recuse herself. Okay, so here's who we're looking at. Abby and Libby. Now, I hope you people know who I'm talking about when I say Richard Allen, because he's a complete monster in my eyes. Okay? Okay, Bishop. Yes, the Bishop. Yes, thank you. Thank you. If you have things to add in chat, please add them in chat. I'm glad this case is like your baby, and I'm going to get into this today. And if you want to correct me on some things, I'd absolutely love to hear them from you. Thank you, the Bishop. You're my Bishop in this case right now. So many people hang at the bridge. It's just horrible what happened, and I agree. And I've seen those awful pictures of those girls, and I would absolutely be mortified if those were my daughters and that happened to me, and my daughter's photos got leaked by the defense. I think that the defense strategy is terrible. It's awful. It's horrible. It's inexcusable, and it's just absurd. I don't believe in the Odinists did it. I don't believe in anybody else but Richard Allen. And leaking photos of young ladies after their death to get a point across about having horns and this and that is absolutely ridiculous. All right? I know this case like my own right hand. Excited you're covering it, but nervous. Don't be nervous. You're good. I'm not covering it completely. I'm covering my take. Justice for Libby and Abby. And my take on Richard Allen and why I think he's guilty. So don't be nervous. Say what you want. Hello, Bree. Thank you so much for being here, having my back. The last few days have been rough, and just you've been helping me out behind the scenes. Thank you. Same to you, Carly. Thank you so much. A lot going on. I've been needing my mods, and they've been there for me. I just don't know much about the case. Haven't heard a lot about it. Well, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about it, okay? They're trying to find a scapegoat to get Richard Allen off the hook. I couldn't have said it better. And, yeah, there's a lot of people that are saying Richard Allen is innocent. So there's going to be people coming at me maybe later on in the comments. I don't care if you come at me in chat. I'd love to hear it so we can have an intelligent debate. Now, I believe Richard Allen is absolutely guilty for these two girls here. And I'm going to tell you why right now. Okay. Here's what the evidence is against Richard Allen in the Delphi case. And let me do this. Let me put a picture of him up so you can see what he looks like, and I'm also going to give you information if you want to go on to the Allen Superior Court Delphi website. You can get all of the information right there. Judge Gull's full order is available, okay? So you can go and download the crap out of these files. They're in PDF format, and you can learn all about the case for yourself. That's the best thing about the internet, is that you can get things at your fingertips and not even have to do anything, go anywhere. I mean, you're doing something, but you don't have to, like go out to the courts and do it. Latest mug shot of Richard Allen. Now, he was frail for a while. He ate his paper that they gave him. He was playing the insanity plea, the card. He was saying that he only confessed to the murders because they, weren't feeding him right. All kinds of nonsense, garbage. Everything I'm saying is because that's just what it sounds like to me. It's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, hocus pocus nonsense. All right. I wonder what. Okay, hold on. This is on mute, so let me see what. Oh, here it is. All right. Let me show you a picture of him. I'm going to show you who Richard Allen is so you know who the hell we're talking about. Thank you, Trish. I think he's guilty. However, I'm sure there are more that are guilty. Now, let me tell you why I think he's guilty. Guilty all the way. How old were they? They're looking young. They were young. And someone can tell me in the chat, I think maybe 12 and 13 or 13 and 14. I don't have all the details right in front of me. I'm not covering this entire case. As a teen, I was almost lynched by a KKK near that location, and I believe that. I believe there's a new picture of Ashdown, which I'm going to put away. This case is only 20 minutes away from me, and it hits home. Thank you, AC, for bringing here. Please subscribe. I have a baby Yorkie just like you do. That one looks like mine. Her name is Reese's. They were 13 and 14, and they were in middle school, folks. All right, I'm going to show you the new Richard Allen picture. Again, I'm not doing this to cover the case and steal anyone's thunder about this case or stir the pot with anyone. I just want to do a deception detective collab, and then I have to give you the backstory of what I think. All right, here's this awful, evil monster, folks. This is his latest mugshot. All right. Thank you for subscribing, AC. Used to live in Monticello. Sharon, while you're doing this, because you believe in what you're doing, keep doing it. Thank you. I believe in what I'm doing, and I believe that no matter who says what, I believe Richard Allen's guilty. I don't care what creator you are. If I love you and we collaborate together, I still believe he's guilty, and I still believe he'll be found guilty. And I will not take that back, okay? For anybody. Okay, so I believe he's guilty, and this is the man. If you don't know who I'm talking about, I just showed you. I'm trying to see if they're going to play this. Let's see if I can play this video. Hold on, we don't want to hear this ad. Then you could just see what the heck I'm talking about. Before I get into it, I'm going to tell you the evidence they have against him, and then I'm going to show you an example of what I'm talking about. Oh, what happened? Okay. This is talking about the arrest. Back when it happens, you'll know exactly what the heck crazy J. Scott is talking about. What is guilty of crime talking about now? I don't know. Never seen that case before. All right. There it is. I'm going to show this to you real quick so you know. Justice for Abby and Libby. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe. If you like Deception Detective, hit it 4 times.
To me just a few minutes ago that they have made an arrest in the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. An announcement of the suspect's name is expected to come at a news conference on Monday. I also spoke with Abby Williams' mother, Anna, on the phone, who tells me she got a call this morning from investigators with the news about the news conference on Monday. We know the girls disappeared 5 years ago. They went for a hike on a day off from school on the Monon High Bridge.
Terrible. Terrible, folks.
5 great reasons to join Excite, the community's credit union.
Sorry about the ads. This is not on YouTube, so I just wanted to show you this real quick, and then I'll get off of this. But I'm here with you talking, and I have time right now. I don't have to go pick my daughter up for a long time. So if you guys want to chat, we could talk about things, talk about justice for Abby and Libby, talk about whatever you want today. I'm all yours.
Marks. But today is different.
It's so low.
Want there to be any confusion
No.
or ambiguity with what I will say. Today is not a day to celebrate. But the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation. First, I'd like to speak directly to Anna, Mike, Becky, Kelsey, your extended families, along with the entire Delphi community that certainly has grown.
And I will address you, the bishop, after this, and everything that you say is just as valid as everything that I say. So I appreciate you. Jinx 13, always love seeing you.
And now includes our nation and even many countries around the world. I am proud to report to you
Finally,
today,
an arrest has
actually
been
last
made.
Friday, was the day. And an arrest has been made.
All right. Arrest has been made, and that was Richard Allen, the dude that I just showed you. All right, so I'm going to put that back up so you can see him while I talk to you about why I believe they have the right man, folks. And then we can talk about it. I'm always open to talking. All right, here we go. This is his latest mugshot. I'm glad that he's doing better so that when trial comes, he can be ready for it. Jinx says I was waiting for Gold to threaten to contempt, speaking to her like he was. Hello, M. Always love you, Cheech Brown. Hello, 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 all. Where were they sisters? They were not sisters. They were best friends. And you remember that age, being in middle school with your best friend, hanging out on a day off. They were terribly unalived that day. Today was worth going to the hearing. Rosie was yelling, "Thank you, Jinx 13. I'm so glad you were at the hearing." I woke up to it this morning and I heard that it got pushed out. I was bummed because I was waiting for that trial to happen. I really want justice to be served and this to be over. There's too many conspiracy theories. There's too many things going on. Some people believe that it's a cult. Some people believe that the Odinism, there's Odinists in it. Some people believe that Keegan Klein was involved. It's all over the place, but I'm telling you my stance. That's always been my stance. Once they arrested Richard Allen, that it is Richard Allen that is guilty, and he will be held accountable. Right? He will be found guilty and held accountable, and that is what I want to happen. Now, let me tell you why. All right? Watch him. Look at his face as I tell you. Here's what the prosecution's evidence has. First of all, they have self-admission, okay? Richard Allen, who's 50 years old, he's a Delphi man, admitted to being on the trail on the afternoon of the murders. Okay, I know you're going to say, oh, yeah, whatever. A lot of people say that. He did admit to being on the trail of the murders that afternoon. He actually went to the cops right after and told them, which was a huge miss for Delphi and the police department, that they didn't look in after him. They didn't look up on that lead. He went and told them he was there the day of the murders and the time. Okay, so he walked in the police department and said it, and nothing happened. All right? Nothing happened at all, except he walked away. Jinx 13 says, of course, after Gold sent out the jury questionnaire and set time limits to say they need more time for the trial. Absolutely. Okay? So, number one, self-admission. And this is not the first time he's self-admissioned. All right? I'll get to that, though. So, he told them he was there, and they overlooked it for years. There were several press conferences, there was profiling people, and there were sketches which didn't know justice. The sketches changed, which I've never seen happen in the history of anything. But the person that profiled said that it would be a person that's in the area, that knows the area, and that's living in the area. And the sketches actually did resemble a combination of the two of him. Okay? So, now, Abby and Libby were unalived. There was pictures taken. He was working at the CBS. I believe he developed those pictures. Jinx, am I correct in saying that? There's many, many admissions, and I'm not even to that yet. Okay? So, they said it would be a local person, and it was. He was working at the CVS the whole entire time until he was arrested. Period. All right? The profiler said that, and There you go. He developed pictures for the family as part of his job at the store. Profiler nailed it. All right, so now I'm going to stop talking and I'm just going to run through why I think he's guilty and what the prosecution has. Number one, self-admission. He admitted to being there the day of the murders. All right. Number two, in an interview with police in 2017, actually, it's the same thing. In this, he self-admitted in an interview of 2017. Allen said that he was on the trail the afternoon of Abby and Livy being, we already talked about murder. In October 13th, 2022 interview, Allen told the police he saw juvenile girls on the trails east of the Freedom Bridge, and he said he went on the Monon High Bridge near where the girls were killed. This year, Allen again admitted to the police that he was on the trail, but denied knowing victim 1 or 2. And then he denied any involvement in the murders, according to the probable cause affidavit. All right, that's number one, self-admission. But number two, self-admission is that he admitted it on the phone to his wife several times through jail calls once he was arrested. Okay? And he didn't just admit it to his wife. I believe he admitted that he admitted it to his mom. I believe, someone can correct me. Either way, 2 admissions so far about being at the site and unaliving, or I already said it, killing Abby and Libby. All right. They have records of it. Now, the records aren't out there. The transcripts are not out there. I checked. Again, I checked with the person that I've been working with any other time on this case, and he knows it like the back of his hand. So no transcripts are out yet, but I'm sure they'll come out in court. Okay. That's the second thing. He was there. He admitted to being there, and he admitted to doing it in jail calls. Number 2, and this is a big one. I'm going to show it to you next. The gun evidence. When they executed a search warrant in his house, a .40 caliber unspent round was found less than 2 feet away from one of the girls' bodies. The unspent round went through a gun the gun that Allen owns. According to the probable cause affidavit, during the search of Allen's home on October 13, 2022, officers found knives and guns, including a Sig Sauer model P226, which is a .40 caliber pistol. That's a big caliber. All right. That will take a chunk out of you. I'm going to say hi to everybody in a minute. I just have to get through this. The probable cause affidavit said that the unspent round matched the bullets from a ballistic perspective that were at the crime scene next to the bodies. That's huge, folks. That's 3 big things right there, okay? I'm not even getting into conspiracy theories here. All right? Yeah, no words. I got lots of words. Hello, T26. Mother and wife both have had Allen confess. I'm going to keep that up as you understand that I feel this man is guilty. And then I'm going to show you a video so you know what the hell I'm talking about. All right. .40 caliber gun. So a bullet that didn't go through, it fell out of the gun near the bodies, matched the gun in his house. Another thing was that he also, someone just told me in chat that he didn't even charge the family for the pictures. Now, that's nothing wrong with that. That's nice of him, but not that nice. Okay? He confessed to the wife on the phone 5 times, maybe even more. I'm going to add to that. Yes, mother and wife, mother and wife, mother and wife, mother and wife, over and over and over, mother and wife. Hello, Lizzie D. There you go. I wish everybody was on my side that way, and I wish every juror was thinking the way we do. Yeah, we have a tornado watch. I'm sorry, Cheech. It was a CVS policy not to charge the families for funeral pictures. So he got to develop the funeral pictures of the girls that he murdered, folks. Imagine how good he felt that day. Wow. Unbelievable. unspent round was found after the crime scene was unsealed, then sealed again a few days later. Okay. The bishop, thank you. I'm not getting into conspiracy theories. We don't have full evidence, but we don't know that the bullet didn't match. Regardless, if somebody went into Alan's house and took the bullets and put them out there, that's all I'm going to say. But thank you for clarifying that. As well as we don't know that they didn't match the number, or they didn't match the number on the box. There's so many things that are unknown. And I also heard otherwise, that the crime scene was not unsealed when they found it. So I'm going to all agree to disagree with you on that, and that's okay. The bullet was found on the 15th. The defense team let it out in their filings already. Great. Whatever day it was found, I do not believe that people are setting up Richard Allen. I absolutely don't believe in any of that. I believe Richard Allen did it by himself. He murdered these two beautiful girls, and I want justice for Abby and Libby. Okay? So I gave you three big key points right there. Self-admission multiple times, gun evidence, and we don't even know what else because we haven't made it to trial and it just got pushed out. Okay? Please note the information that's based on the latest available data. The case is still ongoing. The defense has argued that the investigation overlooked clues, potential suspects, and now the trial's delayed until October. They've also said there's odiness. They've also said there's other people involved. There's so many things in this case. He is guilty until proven innocent. Thank you for saying that. I said it in my words. But I hope for justice. And in my eyes, justice would be taking him down. It's been long enough. Unbelievable. But I knew this was going to happen. All right, now I'm going to show you what I am talking about with the gun. Now, to me, and you could say it's junk science, ballistics is like a fingerprint. When you have a fine microscope, you can see the markings on a bullet as it comes through the chamber, depending on your gun. Each gun's going to have a different fingerprint for every bullet that goes through. I was supposed to do a second test. My roof fell in. I got busy. I didn't get to do it. All right. Gigi, thank you. The case is 30 minutes away from your house. It really hits home. It hits home for me because I can't even let my daughter go out and play at parks or do anything. I'm so paranoid. I never let my daughter go anywhere, anytime without me. Not even during the day, not on a day off, nothing. You see the striations. I'm going to show you. Let me show you in layman's terms what I'm talking about, okay? And I'm not even, Lizzie D, I'm not even trying to bring up his character, but you're right. He's a bad dude. I have a whole pile of things that people have sent me about him that are bad. And I believe his defense is doing a good job by creating a bunch of smoke and mirrors, okay? No, you can't let the kids out of your sight. I'm going to show you my own video that I did. And I did it by myself, but we used it on another channel, and it's called The Magic Bullet, okay? So I'm going to show you that because I want you to understand what I'm talking about when I say this with the guns, okay? I want you to understand that I am a gun person. I shoot guns. I have my gun license. I've been doing it for years. I know how to use them. I know what I'm talking about when I say that. I've been shooting for no less than 15 years, maybe longer. And I know what ballistics are, and I know what striations are, and I know that you can use that like a fingerprint. All right, watch this video, and I'm going to show you what that bullet that was found between the girls and the one that matches home, what that means, how that happened, okay? It dropped out of his gun. I didn't even get to the part of him being the bridge guy. I showed you Richard Allen. Let me show you a picture of the bridge guy when we're done, and that'll be the fourth thing that I have evidence. The state has evidence, and in my mind is evidence enough to prosecute him. All right? So, yeah, smoke and mirrors. All right, let me do this and then I'll show you the bridge guy. And then that's the last thing that I'm going to show you about that. And we're going to move on. All right, listen up.
Hello, everybody. This is Jay with Guilty of Crime. Now, I wanted to do a test today with my actual 9mm gun and show you, first of all, how a gun works. I want you to see the bullets before they go in, what they look like in a box, out of a box, loaded into the clip, and then discharged when you do not actually shoot the bullet. So, when you don't shoot the bullet,
Oh, my bad, my bad. Hold on. Stop. I didn't mean to do that. I don't know how that actually pulled down, but we're going to put it back on. Okay. And I was trying to make it bigger. There it is.
nobody wants to see. But for right now, I want to show you what the gun looks like, the bullets, and how it works. When you cock back a gun,
Hell
and
yeah.
you decide you don't want to shoot it, and then you pull it forward to let the bullet out. There's going to be a marking. But the most important thing I want to show you is what happens when you decide not to shoot and you put it back to its natural state and where the bullet goes. It's actually going to drop down somewhere at your feet or near the area. It's not going to go very far. So I'm going to focus on the gun and the bullets, and then I'm going to show you it in action without actually shooting it, of course. So here we go. Let me flip this around. Hopefully I can flip this around. If not, I'll just turn it around for you. Here we go. All right, so there it is. I'll get a shot. There are bullets in a box. Bullet, brand new, inside the clip, and then the gun. Now, let me show you what happens when I load the gun with the bullets. Now, when I load the gun with the bullets, you're going to see that it's going to pull it into the gun, but it won't shoot. So here we have 9mm Smith & Wesson, nothing.
Hit the like button, folks. I'd like to get this out there. I made this video on how bullets come out of a real gun. We called it the magic bullet. Gigi, stay strapped. I stay strapped. Never want anything to happen to me or my family. So I will protect myself at all costs.
In it, pull it back. Always make sure the chamber is cleared and you're not pointing at anyone. Since there's nothing in it, there's not going to be a bullet in it, but there is the hole where the bullet will come out when I decide not to actually fire it. Okay, now I'm going to take the clip and put the clip in. Now, if I planned on using this to do anything to scare someone, or even if I was going to fire and then I'm at a firing line and they say cease fire and they make me stop, I have to clear my gun and my chamber. So now I'm going to pull it like if I was going to shoot the gun. I always want to keep my finger off or from the trigger. You can keep it like this, never have it near it. I keep it like this, it's comfortable. So here we go. I'm going to pull this back the best I can show you. Here we go. Now this is going to bring a bullet from the clip into the chamber. Now I am ready to shoot. Okay? I'm ready to shoot, but I'm not going to shoot the wall or anything in my house. So I decide I don't want to. Here we go. I need to let this out, and then I'll let go of the clip. Okay, I don't want to shoot. Here we go. It just ejected out. I'm going to put the gun down and show you where it ejected to. It's about 2.5 feet away from me, and here's the bullet. Okay, now we have the bullet. You can see it. It came from that gun, fully intact, everybody. Fully intact. Now, if I go further into this, if anyone's interested, there will actually be marks from the gun that you can see came from that specific gun under a microscope. It will match to the next bullet. So I have the gun again, fully loaded, clips in, everything's good to go. Now, if I want to drop the clip, I can easily drop the clip down by doing this, pressing the button and ejecting it. Now there's nothing in it. I open it back up. Oh, wait, there was something in it. Now it just fell back out. Oh, no. If I'm in the middle of a crime, I didn't even know that. Now I have a second bullet that fell out, maybe in the leaves somewhere.
Come on, man.
if maybe in the leaves of where two little girls might be or anybody else. So now I have two bullets that have markings, and I didn't even know that second one was going to come out like that. It dropped, and I went on with my day, or I ran away, or I did whatever. So I have two bullets that came out. Now I have an empty gun. Nothing in.
Now, there's a couple of times I call it a clip. I use incorrect cycling. Thank you. I filmed this in my kitchen in between running home from work and trying to get this ready for a show that I was on doing this. Okay. So I do appreciate you letting me know that there's a couple other things. It's not called a clip. It's called the magazine and cycling. Yes. I didn't write a script. A lot of things I do are live because I just don't have time for take one, take two. So, but thank you.
In the back, nothing in the chamber. Do you understand what just happened here? I can now pull the trigger and nothing's going to happen. There's no bullets anywhere. But the two bullets that came out are going to have markings. I'll show you real close what the bullet looks like. Now, if I had a microscope, you would see the markings would match the gun. So if you're interested in this content and you would like me to go further, let's do it. I'm into ballistics. I'm into anything CSI. And I'm also into forensics. This is Jay at Guilty of Crime. Please follow me for more information. I'm hoping to put this into a video where we can show you the actual markings from my gun. And it's a Smith & Wesson 9mm. Thank you all for watching. I will probably cut this up and put it into another video and dig.
All right. So I wanted to dig deeper, folks, and I couldn't. Well, I could have. I didn't have time. I ran out, and I feel like it's not even relevant anymore to spend my time doing this. I thought trial was going to happen next week. It is called a clip also, but I like to be very technical when I'm talking in terms of my guns and how you take them apart and the pieces of each part of the gun so that you can inform people. And also gun safety is very important. Slap-a-ho, I call it a clip also. Yeah, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Now you know why I think that it's why you think that, why I think having a bullet that matches would, be very important in the case. So I'm not going to ignore this because you say it blows my mind how normal people can have loaded guns in their kitchen there. Absolutely. I have gun safety down to a science that I can have, and I do. I have guns with safes, but I have them around the house. I also clean my guns in a specific area in my office, and I'm not going to shoot anything because I know how to use them. Most people don't clean their guns outside. They take them apart and they clean them inside. So whether it's my kitchen or whether it's my room or whether it's a living room, most of my friends, when you walk in their house, they have guns just laying on the table loaded. I don't do that because I have children. All right, clips are using rifles, totally different gun. He didn't use a rifle though, but yeah, totally different gun. Maybe I missed something. I have rifles and all that stuff too. I have a collection of them, and I am a avid gun shooter. Okay, this world isn't what it was. Yeah, definitely not what it was. I'm a hillbilly. All right. Well, I just wanted you to see that. Of course, everything has a gun safety on it. Everything I do is safe with my guns. Okay, people. I have my license and I've done classes and I know how to use them. So also I wanted to show somebody the other day came and hated on me for this on my lip. This is not what did they call it? Canker sore or whatever. My little dog bit me. So anyway, not about the case. The little pieces bit my lip. I was letting her chew on you see my piercings? She bit my piercings in my lip. So I just wanted you, yeah, they called it a cold sore. My dog bit me on this side. Anyway, I just saw it right now and I thought it was funny. Yes, all my guns have locks. All right, let's go. So the defense team just asked for documents on Maddie's case. Will they made public in days? I hope so. I hope something is made public soon. Let's go. Guilty of crime by j@gmail.com. Message me. Guns are your friend if you know how to use them. All right, so we're going to keep going here, folks. All right, I want to show you Richard Allen and the bridge guy, and then because I don't want to be like only telling you part of it. I want to tell you why, and then we're going to get into the part. I just want to show you this real quick. Who and what, in case you don't know anything about it. I don't have to explain it. It's just somebody in here said that the other day, and I saw it right now on my lip, and I meant to say my dog, my baby was chewing on my piercings, and she bit my lip. So, or I could just say I was having wild sex, and anyway, I shouldn't say that. But we're talking about all kinds of stuff anyway, so who cares? Let's go. Take a look. Let me make myself smaller so you can see this. Oh, you said they will be made public, not do. I'm not sure what you're saying, but let's hope. At least I got you to laugh. All right, this is not a laughable case, but we got to have a little bit of fun sometimes when we're in here. Can't be so heavy for our mental health, folks. Please hit that like and subscribe button, okay? If you haven't liked it, let's get in the algorithm so the channel can help people, missing people, just people in general that need help and don't have the voice. All right, so that's Richard Allen. That was one of his first, I think that was his first mugshot. And then they have the bridge guy. There's full videos on the bridge guy. If you go look up bridge guy, and then you look at Richard Allen and you look at different postures of Richard Allen, I believe 110% that is Richard Allen. All right. Brutally honest, you're right. Some consider it junk science. However, people don't take use of said gun into consideration. There's too many variables. I agree. And I'm being honest when I say people call it that. I'm letting you know. I'm not saying it's the end all be all. Yeah, the two sketches of a single suspect is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And that's why this case is all mucked up. And the defense took advantage of it. Absolutely. And I don't blame them. That's what their job is. All right. So this was the first sketch they came out with, which actually does look like Richard Allen the closest. But if you were to, he doesn't have like he would have this nose if he was looking down. And this is just, I don't know what this is. I think they used Anthony Schott's profile or something. I'm not sure what they did there. But if you take the two and you put it together and all the evidence, I believe number 4, number 5 reason why I think he's guilty. All right. Now, that was everything I got for you on that. I wasn't trying to cover the case, folks. I'm just trying to tell you what I think of him and why I think that he is guilty. Wow, I made it. Yes, you did, and I hope you stay here. Yeah. Well, if you look into the case, there's an Anthony Schott's profile, and I almost feel like they used that somehow or something. Jinx Nick McClellan said today the state has damning evidence against Allen and wants to keep it sealed. And I agree with them. They should keep it sealed. Why wouldn't you keep it sealed? Why in the heck would you, when you're playing poker, which is what the justice system is like and what going to trial is like, when you're playing poker, you do not show people your hands. If you do, it compromises your evidence or your game. And the justice system is a big game. I hate to say that, and I wish it was better, but it's just not. All right, so I'm going to get into this. Hopefully it doesn't start playing. My internet's being really slow today, and I'm not sure why. So none other than...
Based on what William Lebrato has said so far, to me...
All right, so I had to give you a backstory first about everything. Now we're going to do deception detective style and why I think Richard Allen has guilty knowledge, the evidence that the prosecution has against him, and what I think. Those were my 3 main points. Hello. Thank you. And it's all about justice for Abby and Libby, no matter what you think or who you think is guilty. Just support Abby and Libby. All right. Let's go, Deception Detective. Let's do this.
It looks like Richard Allen is likely guilty and that his own legal teams think he's guilty, or at the very least, know that if they actually talk to him, they might find out for a fact that he's guilty. So let's finish this out. We figure out if a silent suspect is guilty. Hello, detectives. I'm Deception Detective. I'm an attorney trained in statement analysis, and this channel exists to expose lies and manipulation. We're at almost 100,000 subscribers, so if this is your first time here, please consider hitting subscribe. If you're a regular, welcome back. Please make sure to hit like. Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen won my most recent community poll, but he hasn't made a public statement yet that's worth analyzing. So, can we figure out if he's likely guilty or not by analyzing his lawyer's statements?
Now, this is great that Deception Detective did this. It's absolutely fantastic. But I just showed you a bunch of key pieces that the prosecution has and what we've seen as to why. Now he's going to break it down for you with statements and his statements and how statements are said. But we gave you absolute facts in the case as to why. So let's get into this, and it's going to give you even more ammunition if you are on the Richard Allen is guilty side.
The answer might surprise you and give you an insight into how criminal defense actually works. Let's watch an interview Richard's lawyer did with Court TV to figure out if Richard is likely guilty or not. And if you like this video and want me to do Brian Koberger next, please let me know in the comments at the end. Without further
It was an unseasonably warm February day in 2017 in the small rural town of Delphi, Indiana. It's not a place where you worry about your teenage kids deciding to go on an adventure. So when Abby Williams and her best friend Libby German decided to go on a hike near the Monin High Bridge in the middle of the day, no one thought it was dangerous. But when Libby and Abby did not show up when they were supposed to get picked up, their families began to worry and they began to search. Then the next day, the worst news possible. The bodies of these two young girls were found, both victims of murder. As the investigation progressed over 5 years, there were sketches of the suspect that looked like two different people, and there was video of the killer. And finally, an arrest of the accused murderer, Richard Allen. Allen says he didn't do it, and he also alleges it was a group of Odinites who are responsible.
When I first watched this documentary, this is the first red flag as far as I'm concerned. So if you followed my channel for a while, you know that I don't do a bunch of background into cases because I don't want to be too biased. And it's actually the reason that two of the people in my poll, Richard Allen and Brian Koberger, haven't made statements, right? Because I make my poll based on requests from the comments, and I put the top commented cases into the community poll, and I do the one that wins. So I know so little about the cases. I actually did not know that Brian Koberger and Richard Allen haven't made many statements. So this is, when I watched this was my first exposure to the case, and I'd be curious to see his statement. I don't know if it's released. I couldn't find it anywhere, about when Richard Allen said that the Odinites did this murder. Because if you're innocent, you shouldn't know anything about the case. So the fact that he's pushing a theory is...
Now, again, I already said it earlier. They're pushing a theory because defense has to do their job. Okay, and they're doing their job by creating smoke and mirrors, because if I was to do a poll on my page and ask you who you think is guilty, Richard Allen, Keegan Klein, Ron Logan, the Odinists, it'd be just all over the place. Or put not guilty for Richard Allen. Brutally honest. Be more honest. It's not just those names that were under brutal scrutiny and false accusations. I don't have all of the names. This is not my case. Oh, you're talking about brutally honest. Yeah. If someone wants to put a list, yeah, there's a huge list of people and things that the defense is pointing to rather than their client. Of course, that's their job.
It's a red flag to me. And typically when you see someone pushing a theory rather than just arguing for their own innocence, it means they're pushing a hoax.
White nationalists practicing an ancient Nordic religion. This case has also been buried in legal controversy involving Richard Allen's attorneys who were on the case, off the case and replaced, and then back on the case.
This is another red flag when it comes to criminal defense. If you see a defense...
Now, I think a lot of people, I'm going to stop here real quick, Janet Lamb. Not enough was said about the video Abby took, but I think she solved her own case. And if you think she solved her own case, then you probably think Richard Allen is guilty, because Richard Allen has will say very strong characteristics and voice to the bridge guy. So Abby took a video of the bridge guy, which said, "Get down the hill," or "down the hill." And I can play that at the end. It came from her phone, and that was a big part in capturing him. But people still think that it's all these other things going on. So listen to what Dee Dee has to say.
A defendant's legal team recuse themselves, and then them take another legal team and then another one. Or if they start being or even acting insane, you need to be aware of that, because there are certain legal ethics that can explain this bizarre back and forth. And we're going to get into that in this video.
Awesome.
Tonight, we'll speak with one of his replacement attorneys about Alan's innocence, his treatment while in custody, and Odinism as we continue our investigation of the Delphi murders. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you,
Abby
Vinny.
and Libby were best friends. And when I think about what happened to them and the moments of terror that they went through, the fact that two were murdered doubles the tragedy, obviously.
So Vinny's going to get to the interview soon. Just hang in there.
But for each one of them, at least they weren't alone, right? I mean, that's a small consolation. But it reminds me of what we're dealing with out in Idaho with Kaylee and Maddie, best friends, who were also murdered when they were together. It's incredible loss for two families, and now having to go through everything that they've gone through. This is almost unconscionable, the point that we're at now for the victims. It took 5 years for Richard Allen to be arrested. This was a guy who spoke with someone, gave a statement like the day of or the day after, saying he was there. And that in part became the basis for what they did like 5 years later in investigating him and executing a search warrant of his home. All things that could have been done easily within the first month of this investigation. He said he was there. And they had...
And that's how I feel. The way Vinny's talking, it's exactly how I feel. That was the first thing they should have done, was go back to him and say, okay, you were there. What time? Where did you park? What were you wearing that day? I mean, on and on and on, right? There should have been a lot of things that happened, and the police department completely botched this. It shouldn't have taken that long to get arrested, and now that he is, there's so many people that don't even believe it's him, and I don't understand why.
Some video image of the person who was there that they were able to retrieve. So at least at that point, they're like, oh, all right, we've got a video of the killer. Well, who was there that day, guys? I mean, it didn't happen. I can't believe it. But he's been arrested. Now, obviously, he says he's completely innocent and did not do this. And he gets the presumption of innocence. And his original attorneys who...
So that's the thing, right? In America, people they're innocent until proven guilty in the eyes of the law. They also have the right to silence. And it's interesting that this guy and Brian Koberger have apparently both exercised their right to silence. So they're not making statements, which makes them hard to analyze. But because their defense attorneys likely know whether or not they're guilty, there's a certain way along 4 or 5 criteria we can analyze what their attorneys are doing to determine whether or not.
And this is awesome that he's going to do that. And I want to thank you, Jan on the Lam, for everything you've been doing for me so far. I appreciate that every time. It doesn't go unnoticed. Jay, do you think Ellen was the Shots character who lured the girls there? I don't think that he was the Shots character. I do think that Anthony Shots was tied to Keegan Kline. Keegan Kline is in jail now, and he's locked up for a long time for the SA and all of the child CP that he's got going on. So I believe it was, but it's a huge, and I don't believe in coincidence, and so it's weird, but also it's not that weird because that particular town has Delphi. There's a lot of people that do believe in Odinism and that do a lot of drugs, particularly methamphetamines. So I think there can be more than one person in a town that is doing multiple things, and it just so happened that, and he was talking to the girls. Keegan Kline was Anthony Shots or Keegan Kline was talking to the girls that day. They have it on there. I believe they have records, but I believe the records are tied to Keegan, not Richard Allen. We don't know for sure, but I don't think it was Allen. Did Allen somehow, was there a forum and he knew the girls were going to be there that day through Anthony shots? Maybe they were sharing a profile. Could be. It's a big coincidence. Who do I think directly connected, directly unalived those two beautiful angels? Richard Allen. Keegan Kline is serving his time right now for the things that he's done. And I don't think that Allen was connected to the shots character directly. No. Thank you, though, for the super sticker and the $13.99. I appreciate it more than you know.
Not those attorneys know their clients are guilty. And when I say guilty, I mean de facto guilty, that they actually killed the people they're accused of killing, whether or not it can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt in court. And this is an important distinction I have to make in my videos, that the analysis we do here should be used in your daily life to make better decisions, to determine if someone's trying to manipulate you, fool you, if propaganda is trying to get you to act a certain way.
I'm going to play this some more, but my computer is being weird. So if my camera hops off for a second, it's because I have to reload. My stream's not going to go away, but my camera might for a second. I hope not.
Way that might not be in your interest. But when it comes to locking people behind bars for the rest of their lives, it should be proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Agreed.
And the point of the judicial system, lots of what criminal defense attorneys do is make sure that the state meets its burden of proof before it locks someone up. And plenty of people, actual guilty people, get off on technicalities because the police have overstepped. And the evidence they collected is the fruit of the poisonous tree, and the case gets thrown out. So guilty people do walk free. I think O.J. Simpson is guilty. I did a video on him.
And I hope that Richard Allen does not walk free. And this is why I want to bring the awareness and attention. And now that we have a lot more time, trial might not even happen in October. We can start thinking about this with logical minds and rationale and key evidence that's directed at him. So let's go. My computer's still acting up.
I think he's free, but the jury said he was not guilty, and that's the verdict we have to live with. But as far as I'm concerned, he's guilty. If I were to bump into him while he was still alive, I wouldn't shake his hand. I don't like murderers. Right? So there's an important distinction between de facto guilty and proven guilty in court. And that's going to become important later, because when an attorney says my client is innocent, like the title of this video, Richard Allen is innocent, the attorney could know for a fact their client killed two people, but they're using innocent in the strict legalese sense of the word, in that it cannot be proven beyond a reasonable doubt that they committed a crime as described by the statute.
Let's do this.
Who are
I'm going to put this back up. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Misty Free Spirit, for the $2 super chat or super sticker. Actually, thank you. Everything is appreciated on my end to you. And as a person, you're amazing. Just know that you've been a day one.
years, horrific murder, and you're representing the accused killer. You're not going to be popular, but they want in on this case. They believe in his innocence. So
right, they believe in his innocence. Does that mean they believe the government can't prove their case in court, or does it mean they didn't kill someone? And also, just to make my position perfectly clear, I think even de facto guilty people deserve representation. I don't fault any criminal defense attorney for taking any criminal defense case. Lawyers do their job.
And also, we heard a person that used these attorneys for a DUI case, and she said they were really overpriced and they never actually physically met her ever. She wishes she never used them because they just cost her a lot of money and she never actually saw them. I think they just want to be sensationalized. When you're in the case of the century, the case of the lifetime, they're always going to be known, and now they're going to be, Hollywood defense attorneys. And I agree, Janet Lamb, I don't know, and I hope in court it comes out because I do not believe in coincidences.
Job. It's a job. Each case is not the be all or end all of their career. Once one case ends, they have another one lined up. They work on multiple cases. Lots of times I see attorneys depicted in movies as if they have one case and they're personally invested in it.
And they don't have one case, but they have a case of a lifetime, and then people know Jose Baez or Johnny Cochran. Once they get a big name for themselves, guess what? They're overpriced because they have a big name for themselves. Jodi Arias's attorney retired because he didn't want that case, and she stressed him out to no end. But lawyers normally like the spotlight, and it gets clients to pay more money when they're people that have names in the media.
And they have to win it. And there's this big narrative arc. That's not actually how it works in real life. In real life, attorneys have other cases, no cases to make all, be all. The other thing is attorneys do not want to get disbarred. I don't think I've ever encountered an attorney who is willing to to risk their bar card, to risk being booted out of the profession over a case. So it's very rare for someone like Better Call Saul, for example, to be in the courtroom, bold-faced lying and misleading the court. And that's something else we're going to have to keep in mind as we listen on, which I'll also dive into.
That's a significant factor in all of this, because this isn't, the evidence is overwhelming, and, the defense does their thing, but doesn't really do their thing. Completely different in this case. So tonight we have a Court TV exclusive, because as you know, there have been different lawyers representing Richard Allen at different times. And one of them, William Lebrato, who was one of the replacement lawyers, is now off the case, but spoke exclusively with Court TV. And joining me in studio, senior producer of Court TV documentaries, Barbara McDonald, who did that interview. Barbara, great to see you.
So Vinny Lebrato, the attorney they're about to do an interview with, is off the case.
It's Willie Lebrato. He was saying Vinnie Politan, but it's Vinnie Politan and William Lebrato. It's okay, Dee. We love you. That's why we're collaborating. And you're not a true crime guy, but you sure do well with these. And that's why I wanted to bring the backstory to this.
And that's important because I think his statement is going to be a lot more reliable to figuring out if he knows for a fact whether or not Richard Allen is guilty because he's off the case. And I'll explain that as well.
How did this all come about?
I have reached out to him before asking for an interview. He was under the gag order while he was on the case. As soon as that Supreme Court decision came down, I reached out again. He said, yeah, I want to talk now. So we set it up. I flew up to Fort Wayne and we sat down and talked.
So big picture after seeing
Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin issued a press release not too long into their getting the case. And they said they believe that Richard Allen is innocent. Do you have an opinion on that?
There you go.
I don't think Mr. Allen had anything to do with this. I honestly don't. Now, what I believe, nobody cares. My job.
I'm surprised Deception Detective didn't say honestly. He didn't pull out the word when he said honestly, don't think.
Would have been to convince 12 jurors of that.
You're a defense attorney, so that's your job to sort of say your client is innocent. Is that something you say about all your clients?
No, and rarely do I believe it. But in this particular case, I believe it.
All right, so this is important. And now I'm going to break down everything so you have this context as we listen on. I posted this in the DD forum, forum.deceptiondeck.com, in preparation for this video. And basically, the breakdown of how criminal defense attorneys act and how they handle their clients goes like this. When a criminal defense attorney takes on a new case, they may not prefer to know if their client is guilty. And this is because lawyers, as officers of the court, cannot knowingly mislead the court. So that's important. A lawyer can technically mislead the court as long as they don't do it knowingly. So if they never ask their client, did you actually do this? They can say whatever they want.
Right.
However, if a lawyer does find out that their client is guilty, for example, if the client says, I killed those two girls, they still have several ethical options. And
do they want to move forward? Not always. Jodi Arias, for instance, the suitcase killer, Sarah Boone. Absolutely. She's being demanding and she's being rude, just like Jodi Arias. She's being demanding of their time. And lawyers have a big job, and defense lawyers have a really big job. And I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I was them, knowing that a client was guilty. if they told me.
I listed 4 here. I'm going to go through them. But before I do that, there's a quick caveat. If the lawyer thinks that their client might be crazy or might be hoaxing, right, seeking attention, one of these people who professes to have done a crime in order to get attention and says, I did it, a lawyer might think, okay, they're actually innocent, they're lying to me, or they're crazy. So if this lawyer thinks that, for example, Richard Allen is crazy, even if Richard Allen confessed to him, he can still say ethically, I think my client is innocent. All right, but besides the craziness, what can a lawyer do if they know for a fact that their client is guilty? Number
Right.
one, they can argue that the prosecution has not met its burden of proof. And that's what we saw happen in the Casey Anthony trial. So rather than ever saying my client is innocent, you just poke holes in the state's case to show that they could not prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Is anybody watching the Chad Daybell trial? If so, that's what John Pryor's doing. Remember, John Pryor's not death penalty certified, and guess what? Because he's not, he doesn't really know what to do. He gets the judge, let's say, reprimands him a lot. So, yeah, today I've been here an hour and 10 minutes with you, and it feels like it's only been 10 minutes. I love the Crime Crew, and I love mellow chat.
That's something you're perfectly allowed to do. It's perfectly ethical, even if you know your client is guilty. Because the whole point of the trial is not to determine de facto innocence, is to determine if the state can prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Number two, they can argue an alternative explanation to the jury without technically lying. And this is something that Alan Dershowitz, we've analyzed on the channel, is very good at. So for example, how I pointed out earlier, the different uses of the word innocent. If the lawyer says, I know my client's innocent, and in their head, their definition of innocent is, well, innocent is the same as not guilty and that the case couldn't be proven, they can say it, right? Or if they put their client up to testify and they only ask them specific questions in a specifically phrased way to paint an alibi without actually lying. And the example I gave of that, I put up on X. So here's a poll I put up on X. Which of these hypothetical attorney statements is more reliable? A, Brian Kohberger was stargazing at the time of the murders, or B, the evidence will show Brian Kohberger was stargazing at the time of the murders. Well, the fact of the matter is that option B is what an attorney would say if they knew Brian was guilty, because they can present all the evidence they want to show that he was stargazing, right? They can show that the car was there, that eyewitnesses said they saw him, even if they know for a fact that Brian Kohberger wasn't there. They're just saying that.
Right, and if you're following the Kohberger case, his alibi is absolutely ludicrous. Jinx 13, thank you. We were here earlier doing the Madeline Soto case. There were 320 something people in chat, and everybody was still really cool. So come back more often, please. Everybody is really cool, and we all could talk our truths, and it could be our truths, and we could agree to disagree in a proper manner where we're not calling each other names. So thank you. Keep coming back. I do like the Crime Crew. Actually, I love the Crime Crew. What am I saying?
The evidence will show that. So right now in the poll, most people are actually getting this wrong. The more reliable statement is for the attorney to say clearly and directly, Brian Kohberger was stargazing at the time of the murders. Because if the lawyer knew that was not true, they are directly misleading the court. So this small little preface, the evidence will show, is what saves the lawyer from actually misleading the court. They're just telling the court what the evidence is going to show. The third option a lawyer has is they can recuse themselves. And as they recuse themselves, they might advise the client, don't tell the next lawyer that you're guilty. Because if you tell the next lawyer, they're stuck with that now. So I'm recusing myself, go pick another lawyer, don't tell them anything. That way that lawyer is free to do what I said here at the beginning, that they don't know if their client's guilty, so they can say whatever they want. And it's also why all the back and forth between Richard Allen's lawyers, how they've changed a couple times, is a giant red flag. It could be that Richard Allen confessed to some of his first attorneys, and they did exactly this. They recused themselves and then advised, look, the next lawyer you get, don't tell him the truth. Or if you do tell him the truth, act crazy.
Right, and that's most of the defenses nowadays when you get these awful murders like Brian Kohberger doing that to those 4 innocent college students that were just, it blows my mind. They were just beautiful people, and he took their lives away before they actually started. I also want to point to you the Allen Superior Court documents. If you want them, go get them. I'm going to put it in chat so you can download them for yourself and dig into the case further if you like.
So that he can confidently say, Even though Richard Allen confessed to me, I don't believe in his confession. And then finally, this isn't used that often, but a lawyer can let their client lie on the stand as long as they don't participate. So instead of a testimony in a question and answer format, they just let the client go up there and talk because it is their right to testify. So it's called letting the client testify in the narrative. So if you see this in a trial where a lawyer just puts their client up and doesn't participate at all and just lets the client talk, it might mean that the lawyer knows for a fact their client is guilty.
But they still have cross-examination, which can come really hard when you talk too much. So be careful of that, folks. Unless you really are innocent, and then you still got to be careful because they'll still poke holes at you.
This is why they've opted to let the client testify in the narrative.
100%.
And what convinced you?
Conversations with him, the fact that he lived in this very small community that's not much bigger than a high school. He worked at the CVS in Delphi.
There
the
it
police
is.
sketches are hung up in the CVS. The bridge guy picture is in the CVS. And in 5.5 years, no one comes into that store and says that kind of looks.
So I didn't watch this full interview. I just got to the start of it and liked it. So I'm watching this next part, at least maybe one more minute for the first time. And it sounds like he's saying he thinks Richard Allen is innocent because he never asked Richard Allen, right? He didn't say, I think Richard Allen is innocent because he told me he didn't murder these girls. All the reasons he's giving are tangential. So this lawyer might be in the first category where when a criminal defense attorney takes on a new case, they might prefer not to know if their client is guilty.
That's a good idea.
So if you suspect, let's say you're a criminal defense attorney and a client comes in and there's a ton of evidence against them, they're very likely guilty. Your best move is simply not to ask them, did you do this? Right? Just tell me what happened would be a better question, and let them tell you what they need to tell you, or don't even talk to them at all and just start collecting the evidence and then ask them yes.
That I agree with. I believe there was terrible police work throughout the whole entirety of the case, and it's still happening. Do I think that police planted that bullet? No, absolutely not. Maybe they didn't find it right away because bullets are reflective and they are color. They can be a color of a leaf, especially when it's reflective off of a leaf. If you put a bullet that looks like the one I showed you in the video in the leaves, it could be really hard to see when you're looking at two bodies, one that was naked and the other that wasn't. When you're looking at those bodies of young girls, you could be focused on something else other than a bullet that's reflective in the leaves. I don't think they planted that bullet.
No questions to see if the story you're planning to tell the court is going to line up with what's eventually going to come out.
Looks like you. And I don't know if this has any relevance. And, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but an arrest was made 24, 27 days before a sheriff election. Just my humble opinion that played some kind of role in his arrest. And he hadn't moved. He hadn't changed his story. No facts or evidence have changed to my knowledge that brought law enforcement back to him 5.5 years later.
I know DD's going to call that out because he said to my knowledge. So maybe Richard Allen didn't tell him. That's what I'm going to say, is that he didn't tell him. He came in, and I believe this is the guy that's not on the case anymore, correct?
He has no criminal record.
All right, so this seems all tangential. I suspect this attorney never asked Richard Allen whether or not he actually murdered the girls, which is why he can say confidently, I think he's innocent. He could even say, I think he's de facto innocent and that I don't think he murdered those two girls. If he never asked Richard Allen if he did it, he could just say it. He could point. The photos are everywhere. It happened near an election. So he can use all this tangential evidence to allow him to say, I think he's innocent. Now, let's say he had said, I think he's innocent because he told me he's innocent. That would allow us to put another chip on the fact that Richard Allen might be innocent. And then if he said, I think he's innocent because he told me he's innocent and I believe him, that would allow us to put another chip because it means that he doesn't think Richard Allen is crazy in saying he's innocent. It means he thinks Richard Allen is probably in a normal state of mind and is credibly stating his innocence, and he, as an attorney with experience, believes it. But that's not what we're hearing here. So I'm not putting down those two chips on innocence.
raided his house, took all of his social media. There's no ties to this Odinist cult whatsoever. He didn't even know that there was Odinist in Delphi. He had never heard of it. Just a lot of things don't make sense.
Riley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin also said that that there's no electronic evidence linking him to the crime scene or the girls, and that there's no DNA of his at the scene. Is that accurate?
Yes, as far as I can tell, yes.
All right, we're going to bring in some more guests to join me and Barbara here. Joining us in Orange County, California, the author of Forest for the Trees, a book about the Delphi murders, investigative producer Chris Todd, and in Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police.
I love this guy here. It's what his name? It's the evil
Commander, religious cult expert, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, and the author of the book Deceived, an investigation into Zion Society cult.
Profiling Evil. Everybody go follow him. He's amazing. He doesn't just do cults, but he's going to talk about the Odinist cult and what he thinks about it.
Mike King is here.
Mike King.
Barbara, I'll start with Barbara, though. I'm going to ask her a quick question.
I've not watched this far into it. We'll see if it goes back to the interview, but let's just watch along. We'll see what these guys say and see if there's any more nuggets we can extract. So, for example, right now, it looks like Richard Allen's attorneys did this. They just did not find out. They just basically did not ask Richard Allen whether or not he was guilty. And I've seen some stories where Richard Allen more recently has been acting crazy and doing very bizarre things. And that might be because his lawyers may have told him, look, you confess to us, but if you're crazy, we don't have to believe your confession. So if you're crazy and we think you're crazy, when we go to trial, we can argue that you're actually innocent, even though you confess to us because you're a crazy person and you told us you did it. And then hopefully he gets the hint and acts crazy.
Yeah, Deception Detective does analysis on the statements. He doesn't know the cases, and that's why he asked for a channel like my channel's help, and you'll hear him do that. He doesn't know everything about this case. I don't know everything about this case. I don't want to know everything about this case. But what I do know are the facts and why they have Richard Allen locked up. I know enough to get through a few episodes of this, but by no means am I an expert on this particular case.
Crazy, so that they can ethically argue whatever story they want to argue.
The fact here that you're asking him about, he believes in the innocence. What was the sense you're getting in the room with him?
That he felt that. He was very sincere, I thought. His answers were careful and deliberate, but I thought he was sincere and he believed what he was saying.
And she's right. His answers were very careful and deliberate because he probably handled Richard very carefully and deliberately to never put himself in a position where Richard could tell him he committed the evidence.
Now, I want to put this up on the screen because there is one other piece of evidence I think is something that needs to be explained. On April 3rd, 2023, Richard Allen made a phone call to his wife, Kathy Allen, and this is while he's locked up. In that phone call, Richard Allen admits several times that he killed Abby and Libby. Investigators had the phone call transcribed, and the transcription confirms that Richard Allen admits that he committed the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. He admits several times within the phone call that he committed the offenses as charged. His wife, Kathy Allen, ends the phone call abruptly.
This is something I would be curious to see. So apparently this phone call was subscribed. That would be a cool thing to analyze. But in the DD forum, I didn't see anyone post that this was available. So
all right, so you can see there that he put my logo up there. He calls me out. He asked a couple other channels, but I've been doing a lot of collaborations with him lately. I did get the answer. Thank you, True Crime Investigates. I gave it to him. It was a lengthy answer. If he wants to say it on his channel, he can. He could talk all about it. The bottom line, the answer is no. The transcripts are not available, although they do. I believe they have them, and they will use them in court.
If any of the channels who get into the nitty-gritty of true crime, who react to my videos and supply their own insights into topics I cover, like Guilty of Crime, or Pat Brown, or Zawoki, What's the Obsession, Dolly Vision. If any of you are aware whether or not this transcript is available, please do post it in the DD forum, because that could be an interesting follow-up to this video. I'm sure his attorneys are arguing that the words were taken out of context, or it was a false confession, or he was having some sort of mental breakdown when he made these admissions. And if any of that was true, it would show up in the words. Let's keep.
And that's what a lot of people think. And if you're on board with that, let me know. Let me know if you think that the reason he made those admissions was because, maybe he just had eaten his paperwork and he was feeling full, or maybe he was stressed out, or he didn't like the food that day, or whatever it was that he confessed. It was multiple times. It was 5 or more times, is what I'm going to say. It was.
Keep listening.
Barbara McDonald, what did William Lebrato have to say about that?
He said he has a lot of questions about it, that his understanding is it was basically one sentence that Richard spoke, this confession, so not a lot of detail provided in that confession. And he says that Richard Allen was receiving medication while he's in prison, both shots and pills. He doesn't know what those medications were. He tried to find out. And so he has a lot of questions about what all was going on. He also says false confessions are a real thing, especially when people are subjected to very harsh prison conditions.
Now, I got to say this, false confessions are usually made when someone's being interrogated, not when someone's on a jail call with their wife or their mother. Rarely do you hear about a case where somebody falsely confesses while they have them in prison, not jail. Prison is easier. County jail is much harder. You could ask anybody, go to Pablo, I think his name is Jumpsuit Pablo. He'll tell you that county jail is much harder than prison. Prison people are settled. The accommodations are much better there, and they know they're there for a while. County jail is a lot of passer-throughs that like to start crap, and it's much harsher. So him being in prison should have nothing to do with his confessions, which weren't prompted by any law enforcement. That is a different kind of confession when you're being prompted by law enforcement. They can lie to you. They can do all these tactics. Maybe you were tired. He had full reign to say whatever he wanted. That's what he wanted to say, was that he murdered those 2 young girls.
Yeah, the one thing about the...
So it sounds like his lawyers are arguing.
And here's what he had to say about Odinism.
You had not heard of Odinism when it first was floated with regard to this case?
I honestly thought, I was like, no disrespect to Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rosie, because they're excellent lawyers. I thought it was hocus pocus. I honestly didn't. I'd never heard of it. And the more I got into it, that's a real thing. It is a real thing, and it's scary.
In what way?
Well,
so here's some simple statement analysis. Do you think this attorney believes that the girls were killed because of Odinism? What has he said? The more I've looked into it, the scarier it is, and it's a real thing. That's not the same as saying, I think Odinists kill the girls. So he's giving responses, and he's revealing, like any good lawyer should, very little about his own thoughts. Right? You have to really read between the lines here. He wants to help the other counsel preserve this argument. Right? He's not going to bash it, but he also isn't going to stake his reputation behind saying this is what actually happened if he doesn't think it's what happened. So it's a real thing is very different than saying, I think it's the culprit.
Well, I believe they sacrificed a girl and killed another one.
I believe they sacrificed.
All right, I wasn't laughing at that. That's absolutely unacceptable. And what he just said, I was laughing at Vicky's comment. Most of the stuff from Pandora's Box or from people who watch too much is it SBU. But the reason I'm laughing is because that just sounds ridiculous when you say that an Odinistic cult murdered those 2 girls, yet there was nothing there to resemble any kind of cult-like activity or Odinists or anything of the sort. I've seen the pictures, and I'm telling you, none of that stuff was there. It doesn't exist. Maybe in the Photoshop world it does, but not in the real pictures. It does not.
Sacrificed a girl and killed another one. I've not watched this far before. He could be talking about any 2 girls in the world. He could be talking about back in ancient times of Thor sacrificing 2 girls to Odinism. He's not saying the 2 girls Richard Allen is accused of killing were sacrificed by Odinists.
Some of the people that live in Delphi were very brazen about their Odinistic beliefs on their Facebook pages and other social media accounts, including the sergeant who was in charge of keeping Mr. Allen safe in Westville. It's real. Just the other day, Robert and I were going to lunch, and we saw a
it's
Jeep
real
Wrangler right here in Fort Wayne with a spare tire on the back, and the cover was.
All right, now we have a little anecdotal tangent. So,
oh yeah, he's overly explaining, folks, and I know there's a card in this deck, and actually I didn't do this on purpose, but in the first card it came out as explanations, and I did not plan this, everybody. He overly explained that, and if you don't agree with me, let me know. There was no reason for him to say what he just said. He said Odinism is real. And then he went into, I just saw a Jeep that had a thing. So in the deception detective, in the deception deck, explanations, liars tend to offer explanations for why things happen, revealing their insecurity and expectation of disbelief. In contrast, honest individuals usually present facts, straightforward, allowing the truth to stand on its own. If every story included superfluous, I think it's superfluous explanations, it might be a sign of deception. So keep that in mind when people over-explain something and you didn't ask them. It's to compensate for the lie they just told you, and they're trying to distract from that and explain to you why. He just did that right there. He just did this.
Richard Allen's previous attorney, from what I can see here, does not think that Odinists killed the girls. At least in my opinion, for what I'm seeing him say here. He doesn't think that the Odinist claim holds any water.
Said Odin, and it had all Odin spears like around on the cover. I would have never known what that meant and outside this case. So Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rosie were onto something right away.
You described one of those officers that's mentioned in one of Rosie Baldwin's filings, Sergeant Jones, who was wearing patches that said "In Odin We Trust" on his Department of Corrections uniform.
Yep.
The judge ordered the warden to make them stop. And then what did you notice?
That Mr. Jones had it tattooed under his right eye. From the best we can tell, it looks a lot like Odin's spear. And he had several tattoos on his forearms.
Yet that has nothing to do with this case, in my belief. Okay, I do not believe that Odinists have anything to do with this case. I believe that Delphi has people that practice Odinism, and it also, I believe the people that practice Odinism are kind of like white supremacists and the KKK folks. I do believe that. A lot of small towns have that in their towns. A lot of them are anti anybody but white, and I believe that they're capitalizing on this large case to get media attention. And that's why you're seeing Odinists coming up. But they do not, I believe, have anything to do with this case. A coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences, but I think they interjected themselves to have their names out there.
Including the interlocking triangles that are on his face.
What does any of this have to do with Richard Allen? So this is another legal technique.
Exactly.
Right? One technique we've looked at in the McCain case is where lawyers say the police immediately zeroed in my clients and didn't consider anyone else. Right? They did the same thing in the John Bonet case. And that's a great legal tactic for a defense attorney because it makes the police look like they had tunnel vision. But in reality, it's a manipulation. Because when a little kid dies, the first suspect, statistically, most of the time, by the vast majority of the time, the culprits are the parents.
Now, I want to stop really quickly here. We're in a nice, chill chat. I love deception detective collaborations. They're always very chill. A lot of people don't follow me with the Delphi case, so it's a nice, chill chat. Not too many people. I want to shout out to Melissa Johnson. Now, I want to tell you, Melissa is from Michigan, and she is having problems with housing, and she doesn't have anywhere to live. She's got children she needs to take care of. If anybody has any ideas on how to help Melissa Johnson, please email me. If you know any resources in Michigan, I don't know your exact area. Hold on. Sorry, I didn't mean to take that down. Melissa, I don't know your exact area, but I do know that people would love to help. So please, please, please reach out to me if you can help or have ideas to help Melissa to find a place for herself and her children. Any resources, we can start a GoFundMe for her. I promised that I would do that, and I'd love to help. All right, I'm going to hide the comment now and say, I'm going to read a couple comments. Brutally Honest says, hope Judge Gold will change your mind, allow the trial to be live streamed. I do too. I think it should be very transparent. It's key. Again, international attention. You're from Holland and you follow it closely. I'm from California, and I'd love to be able to see what actually goes on. I don't believe an Odin's person has anything to do with this case. Thank you. And neither do I. I think they use that as a smoke and mirror. Bishop says, I'm a black, bi, outspoken woman. Is it safe for me to travel to the trial? That's a good question for somebody that's in Delphi. I think this day and age, I would hope it would be. I know there are a lot of people out there in small towns like that that don't like, in general, gay people or anybody that's not of color. But I'm not going to say that it's not safe for you. I think nowadays, as long as you stay out of the, don't go into a bar, a biker bar in that town, you'll be fine. But somebody can tell me about Delphi and what you think. And the Bishop, I support you. I love you, and you're welcome here on this channel with all and any comments. Donna, Jay, your analysis is right on point. I appreciate you. I appreciate you if you agree with me or you disagree with me, but thank you for saying that. All right. Yeah, my email, I have it below. Melissa from Maine. Okay, Maine. See, I need to write up what you need and where you're from. She's from Maine. Doesn't matter if someone wants to help. It does matter, but if someone wants to help Melissa Johnson find housing or housing resources from Maine, let me know. Reach out. I was having worries, cheers, and I don't blame you. I have worries too when I travel to certain places. Time for dinner. Go have some dinner. Thank you for being here, Jinx13. I always appreciate seeing you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really honest, 100%. Good night, Jinx. And right at you, the Bishop. Carly, Jay. Peace out, Jinx. All right, let's go.
Whether it was because of negligence, cold-blooded murder, or just recklessness, like they were punishing the kid in a way where they didn't really consider whether or not the kid could end up dead. So defense attorneys, one tactic is to paint the police as if they have tunnel vision and hope that a jury is gullible enough to think, hey, yeah, he's right. They should have been chasing down every wild goose. Another one is to provide an alternative, right? A distraction. And this Odinist thing appears to be a great distraction because it's fantastical. It's conspiracy theory-ish. A jury might jump onto this and think it's really interesting and pay more attention to the Odin stuff. Like, oh, the warden has tattoos, rather than Richard Allen's admissions over the phone to his wife and how reliable or not those are.
Thank you.
Facebook post. I got to give credit to Mr. Rosie and Mr.
The other thing, all these little clubs like Freemasons or Masons or Odinists or Bohemian Grove or whatever. The question is, does this little group have enough power to kill people and get away with it?
Right.
And I've seen lots of people mention the Freemasons in my McCann's case. They mention the Freemasons in the Chris Watts case where I'm analyzing Nicole Kessinger. And I've actually shown on the channel a secret Freemasons video of one of their bizarre little initiation ceremonies where I should, technically under their rules, someone should come find me and kill me because of that. And I'm still here. So a good way to test whether or not Odinists can kill people and get away with it is by saying, I think Odinism is nonsense. And let's see if I'm still here a couple months from now. In other words, do I think Odinists killed these two girls? Do I think some cult that permeates the local police and the local wardens caused two girls to get killed? No, not when there's a suspect who was allegedly making admissions over the phone to his wife and his mom that he's a murderer.
And Mr. Baldwin, they picked up on that.
And let me tell you what, Davy Jones, thank you. I don't know all the details of the case either, but I know a lot of details, and I know that a bunch of sticks is not much to base a cult on. If you have seen the pictures and you actually analyze them, none of the sticks in the way that they were positioned even mean anything. If you look at it from far or you Photoshop it, it could maybe look like a triangle or something, maybe possibly just because they're sticks and the way they were laid, but none of it matches up with any actual Odinist symbols. And I believe Mike King goes into that in detail on his channel. So go check out Profiling Evil if you want to learn more about that.
We saw him, and confinement officers at the Allen County Jail aren't even allowed to have facial hair, let alone facial tattoos.
What does that have to do with anything?
The warden allowed that.
Why is he still talking about
if he
that?
even knew what it was.
He looks a little scared talking about Odinism. I mean,
yeah, because he's a good actor, right? He's trying to sell this story about Odinists. It's salacious. It has, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen here, nothing to do with anything. And the reason I say that is the way he spoke.
I did say that, Melissa Johnson. You're in Maine. I corrected myself with your husband and your kids, and you need housing and resources. Like I said, if you set up a GoFundMe, maybe you can have somebody locally help you set up a GoFundMe. I'll share it on my page. If anybody knows resources in Maine or anywhere, please send me an email. I've had my email going for the last 10 minutes. You can email me. It's from 3 kids and your husband, and you need resources and housing, and we'd love to be able to help you. I don't even have a house right now. So I can't offer anything, but I can offer my platform to let people know, and I can share a GoFundMe if you set one up, okay? I'm sorry that's happening to you. It's really hard.
He spoke as an attorney who does not know whether or not his client is guilty. In other words, he spoke as an attorney who went out of his way, who deliberately did not ask Richard Allen whether or not he murdered the girls so that he could argue whatever he had to in court. And maybe the truth came out, which is why he had to recuse himself and why the legal team had to change. So once again, I'm going to bring up my list. So,
well, it's because the photos were leaked of Abby and Libby. That's why, and he took the fall for it, right? What am I missing?
We can go over these things to look for when you're watching a trial. So if an attorney does not say that their client said they didn't do it, that's weak. It's much stronger if an attorney says, I think my client is innocent because he told me he's innocent and I believe him. That lets you stack some chips on a lawyer's statement. Now, what allows you to take off some chips on someone's innocence? Well, if the lawyer only focuses on poking holes in the prosecution's case, rather than arguing some sort of alibi or some sort of alternative, it's very likely the lawyer knows their client is guilty and they're trying to win on technically the prosecution not being able to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Second, if the lawyer is picking their words very carefully, the questions they ask, the things they say are said in an awkward way with a bunch of extra wording, like this example I gave on X, the evidence will show Brian Kohberger was stargazing. Rather than just stating Brian Kohberger was stargazing, it's possible that the lawyer knows the truth and they're trying to argue strictly based on the evidence so they don't violate any of their legal duties, not to deliberately, knowingly mislead the court. If legal teams, like we've seen here with Richard Allen, recuse themselves back and forth, or start arguing that their client is crazy so that they can throw out anything their client admitted to them and argue whatever they need to, that is another red flag about de facto innocence. And then finally, if you see a suspect, a defendant, go up on the stand and just start testifying in the narrative without their lawyer doing the typical question and answer format, it's possible that they are lying and the lawyer knows they're lying, which is why they've opted to testify in the narrative.
We had visited him on several occasions, but driving 4 hours each way was difficult. And then at Wabash, they're not set up for visitation, so we were literally.
Now, I haven't seen this interview, but I feel like a lot of it's just, again, smoke and mirrors, and it has nothing to do with anything other than what he's trying to say that Richard Allen didn't do and that Odinist did. He's pointing the finger, but he's not saying much about why Richard Allen didn't do it. He's just kind of playing on people's heartstrings if you believe that Richard Allen is innocent.
Literally in a makeshift kitchen. and he was in a cell. We had to stand 6 feet back, and he's talking through the slot where they put the tray of food through. It's not a very conducive way to have meaningful conversations with your client. I couldn't hand him documents. I couldn't have him sign documents. And, I'm sure it was very difficult for him to see the videos we were showing him through that slot. So,
well, maybe you shouldn't murder 2 children in a small town where people want to hurt you. I think he's in protective custody for his own good, guys. I think people would want to hurt him.
So it looks like the legal team now is preserving all their technical appeals. Right? They weren't able to discuss the case with their client, to strategize, to communicate freely. So it looks like they're preserving, which they should do, right? All their potential appeals, likely because they don't think this trial is going to go well.
I'm not criticizing the Department of Corrections. I mean, they, for whatever reason, he was moved there. They're not set up for visitation, but you can't have I couldn't have been prepared for trial even October if that was how all the visits were going to be conducted.
And you've handled death penalty cases. Have you ever had a pre-trial defendant treated the same way as Richard Allen?
Never. Never in my 25 years or Scremen's 25 years have we ever had a murder client held pre-trial in a maximum security facility and then was transferred from one maximum security facility to another. Never.
Oh. And in your motion to transfer, you guys described him as being treated like Hannibal Lecter.
Particularly in Westville, at least we are allowed to sit.
You hear how he's stuttering on his words and how he's like moving back and forth and he seems nervous about the questions. Well, they're doing it for Richard Allen's own good so that he doesn't get his life taken by other people. Richard Allen admitted in 2017 to being on the bridge in the same clothes as the bridge guy at a similar time. His wife must have been suspicious and ignored it, maybe ignoring stuff like Jen Soto. I was going to bring up the Madeline Soto case and things that correlate with that too, so thank you for doing that, Bishop. I agree.
Face to face across the table from him, but the way he was handcuffed and to his chest, I mean, it looked extraordinarily uncomfortable. I couldn't shake his hand.
I also was going to say that he is treated like Hannibal Lecter because he ate his paperwork. So never go to prison and eat your paperwork and then confess multiple times to something that you didn't do if you don't want people to think that you're crazy. Okay? Just a tip. Little tip from me to you. Never been to jail, never been arrested, none of that stuff. But just don't eat your paperwork and act crazy if you don't want to be put in those conditions. That's what happens. Look at Donna Adelson. Donna Adelson, this rich old white lady, is being treated the same way as Richard Allen, folks. Let's be aware. Logic and reason. Take Donna Adelson and take him, and they're being treated the same way. Except she didn't eat her paperwork. She said that she was feeling like she wanted to end her life, and they did this to her.
We couldn't have him sign anything. I visited clients in prison on several occasions. That was different than anything I've ever experienced before.
And the way his hands were shackled were similar to how we see him in court, right? Where it's
exactly
like the tops of the hands are touching.
Yes.
And it's way up high on his chest.
It's connected to a box on his chest. I've never seen that. I've never seen anyone confined in that manner before.
So why? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. He is 5'6", 120, 130 pounds. He is not a physical threat to anyone. From all accounts, he's been a model citizen because he's locked down 23 hours a day.
He has not been a model citizen. He just never got caught for it. The reason my channel is called Guilty of Crime is because, are you guilty of crime? Or just did you not get caught for it, folks? He just never been arrested because he hasn't gotten caught for it. And I don't normally cover the Delphi case, but I'm covering Deception Detective CJK, and I appreciate you being here. I absolutely do not want to be in the wild, wild west with this case, but I wanted to I wanted to work with Deception Detective as he called my name out in this video. So if you go back, he asked, I provide.
We told the confinement officers that we wanted him unhandcuffed, so we could shake his hand and maybe have him sign documents, and they weren't budging on that. And it was sad.
Look, folks, there's the man, the myth, the legend. Now I'm fangirling. Deception Detective in the chat saying people see weird handcuffs and a pile of sticks and stop thinking rationally. These lawyers know how the average gullible juror thinks. All right. So, yeah, I don't typically cover the Delphi case. I don't even want to be in that crazy circus, but I wanted to do it with DD because he's respectable, likable, and I just love doing collabs with him. So, hello, sir. We all love you over here, by the way. Hey, Serenity, how's it going?
Because Westville allows visits, so his wife could come see him, and they just set up a visit with his mom and dad. He was trained.
So now we have an appeal to pity, right? That we should feel sorry for this guy because he's shackled this way. I've never seen someone shackled like that before. I don't know what that's about. But whether or not he's treated kindly in the prison is a totally separate issue than whether or not he's guilty. So we've seen these lawyers do lots of things besides say that they know he's innocent because he said he's innocent, right? We've seen them put up alternatives like the Odinists, distractions, which I think the Odinist thing is appeal to pity, where they're talking about the shackles. So obviously, this defense attorney, William Lebrato, and his current defense attorneys are probably very good at what they do. And in order to determine what they know, what they think about their client, we have to actually listen to what they say, because lawyers, like politicians, are very good at picking their words. And then we need to look out for these signs to determine. And this is just for you and me, right? To determine what we think. Let's say if Richard Allen was found not guilty and moved across the street from you, how would you react? Well, if you saw him testifying in the narrative, you might want to move, not go over to his house and bring a bunch of brownies. So what we do here is stacking up chips on whether or not we think someone is a toxic person that we should avoid or not. And so far, based on what William Lebrato has said so far, to me, it looks like Richard Allen is likely guilty, and that his own legal teams think he's guilty, or at the very least, know that if they actually talk to him, they might find out for a fact that he's guilty.
Yeah, if they actually were able to talk to him, if he wasn't acting crazy. And Serenity Snay, we've seen many prisoners in shackles in Indiana. A lot of people do say that. Richard Allen is no exception to the rule of anything, and he should not be treated any different than he is. They're doing absolutely what they should do to keep him protected, as well as his sanity that he's claiming that he doesn't have. They have to do that. It's the law. There's no reason to give him special treatment. The lawyer probably is not, well, he could be paid for this interview, but really they're trying to, this is free publicity, Donna. These guys here are on the Hollywood bandwagon, and they'd love to be Hollywood lawyers. He's doing a bad job at it, by the way. A terrible job. He said nothing so far, except a bunch of bad acting.
So let's finish this out.
Transferred to Wabash 2 days before that visit. No, I don't think one had anything to do with the other. I just think it was bad timing and a coincidence. But in Wabash, you're not allowed any visits. Obviously, attorney, but no family members.
If you want me to do this sort of analysis again with Brian Koberger, let's get this video to 50,000 views.
Yes.
And if you want to learn more about techniques lawyers, con artists, and politicians use to mislead without technically lying, my video, How to Spot a Sophisticated Manipulator, about Alan Dershowitz and Jeffrey Epstein, is on your screen now. I recommend giving it a watch.
I would love to watch that with you. I haven't got into that yet because the Epstein documentary on Netflix was really long and really good, but so hard to listen to when it comes to essay. But I'd love to cover that only with Deception Detective. I don't want to go in that rabbit hole. And the bishop, I believe OJ also got off because a lot of people liked him as a football player, a football star, and they couldn't see him in any other light. And they couldn't see him as a killer. They did have a good defense team, and they created a little bit of doubt, but people in the jury also, I think they fangirl, fanboy, whatever, I think because of who he was and the little bit of doubt that he got off. And that's what they're trying to do with Richard Allen in the opposite way. They're trying to make him a person that you want to feel sorry for. And when the jury sees him, they want to say, oh, this poor guy was treated so bad. I don't think he's guilty. And hey, Charlotte, what's going on? Good to see you. Very bad acting. Let's wrap this up with DD and we'll finish our final thoughts. I can't believe I've gone for 2 hours and earlier an hour and a half.
Until next time, stay true.
We will stay true, sir. Definitely stay true. Stay true to our people. Stay true to you. Stay true to those who stay true to us. Remember that. I have this problem with loyalty, folks, and sometimes I'm loyal to a fault. I love people and then they burn me. And I still keep going back because I want to be loyal to them. But you can't be loyal to people that burn you. It sucks. I don't even know why I want to do that or why I'm compelled to. But I got soft spots and it's not good. The attorney replaced the original attorneys. He was on the case a short time. Then the original attorneys were reinstated. But this guy will not go away. He's at every court hearing and wants badly. He wants badly to be on the news, and he wants badly for people to know his name so that he can gain notoriety and money, folks. He did get off because he could afford a better lawyer, but a lot of people said that because he was a football player and because he was like a national hero, he also was one of the first African American heroes that, you know, a superstar football player, sports hero that was African American. People did not want to convict him. I'm telling you, I've heard that. I wasn't on the jury. I was too young. All right. You feel sorry for Richard Allen's daughter, not for his wife. She knows the truth. I believe she always has. Plus, he admitted it to her on a jail phone call. There you go. Over and over. Yeah, it is human nature. I agree. If Deception Detective was on trial and I was in the jury, I would say not guilty. I've loved tonight's chat. Cheers to you. Cheers to my mods. Cheers to everybody. I'm going to read a couple more statements and then I will get out of here. He also got off because the lead detective was a known white supremacist and admitting to planting evidence as well. There you go. Thank you for that perspective. I was a mere 6 or 7 years old when I watched that trial. I also watched and I know I shouldn't have been watching it, but I did. I'm a true crime junkie and addict for life. I absolutely am addicted to true crime. I cannot help it. I was raised on true crime and trials, and I watched the O.J. Simpson famous white Bronco on the slow, high-speed chase. That doesn't even make sense, but it was a slow, high-speed chase. Yes, we're going to have a members only coming up, folks, and there's going to be some big, big things, and it's going to be led by you. And when I say you, I mean the people that are members, like Paulette Kelly. You remember OJ was so guilty. Rest in peace to OJ. I did a video on him and I tell you what I think about it, but I also say rest in peace. But I do think he was guilty as well. Never convicted. All right. What's the go figure part, Joyce? Hello, Joyce. Good to see you. See, I believe one of the retired LEOs on YouTube said each facility has their own operating procedure and what they use, shackles, vests, etc. And I believe that too. Look at Brian Koberger. That man is an absolute monster in my eyes, and I think that he should be shackled to the fullest. Yet he comes in a suit and a tie. He's a monster, and even if he's not guilty yet, I'm still afraid of him. His stare scares the crap out of me. And yeah, OJ was a likable guy. He was a movie star, a football star, all that. It's okay. You can go back and watch. It's hit where OJ is. I must have missed something. All right. I'm pretty sure everyone thought OJ was guilty. They did. They did. But he still passed away recently. And I say rest in peace. And I say hello, Cody Currens. Good to see you. I'm glad your husband subbed and liked. You're supposed to be out of here by now, Melissa. Just kidding. Also, the victims weren't particularly sympathetic, rich, and obnoxious about it. If we're talking about the OJ case, I agree. A lot of people felt that way. It was just one of those circumstances in that case that just all around. So, all right. Now we're just saying goodbye. There's no questions. And, oh, what? I'm not going to tell Bree anything, Cody. I promise I'm not going to tell her a thing. Shh, it's our secret. We're going to have a secret chat soon. Don't tell her. There you go, Vicky. Most black people didn't think he was guilty and still don't. I agree with that, too. I have a lot of black friends and relatives that feel the same way. They can't let go that he was such a hero. Thank you for mustering the strength to continue the fight for justice despite the attacks by differing minds. No problem. I let it in, and then I let it out, Letty. That's it. Let in, let out. All right. I'm going to say goodnight to you. I'm hungry. I want to see my daughter. I'm going to pick her up early. We're going to go back to the hotel, which reminds me of that song. I should actually play that song just because, but I'll get doxxed. I know it. I can't play a song. I wish I could. Anyway, on the way out, please hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe. I promise you're going to want to be a member, and you're going to want to be on the members only. I think OJ was guilty. Black in the UK. What? Just because someone's a hero in someone's eyes doesn't mean they're a villain in someone else's. Yeah, I agree. It's just people. Everyone has their right to an opinion, and we all have a ton of them, and we're all welcome to have them here, without being assholes, guys. We don't have to be assholes to each other. We're going to have a secret chat. A secret live chat, Giselle. You're going to have to pay for that, Melissa. That's all I'm going to show you right now, and it went right through. All right? We're going to have to be on a live to do that. So, good night, Joyce. Thank you for everything. Thank you for coming. And even the same eyes, sports, movies, murder, one doesn't erase the other. Speaking of that, Gypsy Rose, 2 words, folks. If anyone would like to just do one and talk behind the scenes about it, I'd love to, on one of our chats, talk about Gypsy Rose. I have a lot to say about that woman, but I don't want to do it on my true crime channel because there's too many things going on with Gypsy Rose. But if anyone's interested in talking about that behind the scenes, I'd love to talk about Gypsy Rose. You could tell what I have to say about that. All right. And Melissa, I did show you my arms. There it is. Look at that. All right. Genius, right? All right. I love you all. I'm out of here. You guys have a beautiful, wonderful night. Enjoy your children. Enjoy your pets. Enjoy your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your mistress, if you have one. Nothing wrong with it. Hey, people have those. I don't fault you. Just don't go killing your spouse over it. And we're good. On that note, I'm out of here.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash Cash App, or Venmo, or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?
Peace out, folks.